Hi, folks. Thanks for joining us. Leigh, Diffey and Townsend Bell talking with a driver who has finished second at the Rolex 24 more times than he cares to think about. He's a 45-year-old IndyCar rookie, and in a former life, he was a 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champion. Of course, it's Jimmie Johnson, who's gearing up to race this weekend at the 69th running of the famed Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring. Jimmie, practiced today. How's it been going so far?
We've had a few issues. We hoped that things would have gone a little smoother. The second practice session, we actually had to stop early to work on the car. But thankfully, we were here for a couple days, maybe 2 weeks ago, and feel really good about the setup of the car and with the changing track conditions, weather conditions. We're telling ourselves that everything's going to be just fine, and we just need to get these gremlins out of the way.
So, Jimmie, this is a year of jumping into the deep end of the pool for you in a lot of ways, and also just taking what appears to be every awesome opportunity that comes your way. Sebring is both. Sebring is a very deep swimming pool, both in the talent you're competing against, in prototypes, and some really fast cars around a track that's unlike anywhere else I've ever raced in the world, just in terms of the physicality and the bumps and the challenges. Can you describe, for maybe people that haven't seen the 12 Hours of Sebring before, what does this track and this challenge look like through your eyes and through your body?
Yeah, it's so hard to describe. And I mean, I think you described it all very well. And I've watched the broadcasts for years and have been a fan of sports car racing for a long, long time, and thought that I had a decent understanding of the physicality and the challenges at this track. And then I came here and tested, and it was probably 10 times everything that I thought it was. It is narrow, bumpy, it's fast. There's big penalties if you get it wrong. But at the same time, I mean, you have to run around here at 10 tenths. And then something that's popped up at the test session, and we're certainly dealing with now, is wind direction. You think you get into a nice groove, and the next day wind direction changes and your car setup's kind of out the window in some respects, or your approach to certain corners is out the window. And that was really surprising today. The wind direction was different than my test session, and I had a whole different experience out there.
One of the big differences, Jimmie, as you know all too well, between the Sebring 12 Hour and the Rolex 24 at Daytona is the nighttime driving and the lack of light at Sebring. So what have your Action Express crew told you? What Simon Pagenaud, your teammate, told you about what to expect? Because at the Rolex, it's very well lit, and it's so different to the 24 Hours of Le Mans and very different to Sebring. So what are you prepared for, and what do you know going into this weekend?
I don't know a thing other than our test session concluded at 6 p.m. And I was like, boy, shouldn't we stick around for a few more hours and get some night running? I guess in some respects, I hope to not be in the car at that point. And with the three drivers, I think it's to our best interest to phase me out before it gets dark, because I literally don't have any laps around here at night. And that's the crucial window to win the race. So it appears I'll probably qualify the car and start the car. And then that cycle should set me up to have a nice seat to watch Simon and Kamui go at it there at the end.
Jimmie, how much has the IndyCar testing that you've been doing, how much do you think that helps kind of lower the overwhelming nature of jumping in a car like the one you'll compete in on Saturday here at Sebring for the first time? Does it make it a little easier because this car maybe not quite as fast as an IndyCar? Is your tolerance level sort of higher than it would have been if you hadn't done IndyCar racing or testing, I should say?
Yeah, testing for sure. Yeah, the IndyCar is quite a bit quicker in some respects. Anytime you can go faster and then come back down to a car that has a little less pace, you just feel like you can manhandle it more. But one thing that I feel like really helps me with the DPI car is the amount of side force the car has, just the shape of the body. And there's something very familiar after you point the car into the turn and the lateral G's pick up. There's something to lean on there that's much like a stock car. The Indy car doesn't really have that same sensation. There's plenty of grip, but once you exceed the grip window, you have your hands full, where this car, a lot like a NASCAR vehicle, there's a pretty good window that you can slide it around. And I find that I'm much more comfortable in this car for that reason.
One of the big things about this year and next year, as a matter of fact, is the 48 Ally Action Express Cadillac team has committed to do the full Michelin Endurance Cup, which is great news for all sports car fans. But for Jimmie Johnson fans, they get to see you race for at least 2 more years. But for you, from a personal perspective, you're checking off bucket list items, and I think listening to you for enough times, this is also about having fun. To see the expression on your face, Jimmie, to hear your words at the Rolex 24. Yes, I kind of joked at the beginning that you finished second again and finished second too many times to care about, but you drove really well. I was looking at the lap speeds before per driver. You had quicker lap than one Pablo Montoya and Olivier Pla, I think, which is a really nice note in your road racing career. But did you have fun, and are you having fun in 2021?
Yeah, I certainly am. Something new is always fun. I think we've all experienced that in life. And I also feel like, on the IndyCar side, there's just so much car there that if you love to race and you love to go fast, there's more than you can handle. And then when I look at the IMSA car side, this has been something I have been conscious of and aware of for quite a while. If you go back to me racing with Gainsco and Riley and Crawford, I've always wanted to end up in this form of racing someday. And, that day is here. The cars are quite a bit quicker than when I drove them last in the Grand Am series. So again, that excitement of driving, a proper car and really being at speed in a fun car is really driving everything. And then, of course, the IMSA paddock is much different than the NASCAR garage and stress level and personalities. And I'm really enjoying this. It's been a very nice change of pace, and I'm really having a good time.
Jimmie, I had Kyle Busch as a teammate at Daytona last year, and while he didn't have any sports car experience, there were some subtle things that a driver as talented as Kyle and as accomplished as Kyle brought to the table in terms of an insight or an approach or just something different. What do you think your two teammates on this DPI car at IMSA, how would they characterize what you bring to the table as a driver outside of, hey, I'm here for a good time, having a new life adventure and a new challenge? But let's drill down on Jimmie Johnson, the professional racing driver. What do you think you can bring to the table? Knowing you don't have the experience, how would you summarize, your contribution, or what do you think they would say you bring to the table?
I think they see how serious I am to hone my craft and to be as good as I can in the car. I've also been able to bring a nice spotlight to the car that I'm driving and help bring sponsorship, clearly help bring some eyes and attention to the sport itself. So as we all know, if you have a lot of talent and can't bring that spotlight at times, you sit on the sidelines. So, there's kind of two pieces to that quickly come to mind. But I think the encouraging side that I'm showing to my teammates is that the gains that I'm getting, I'm owning them, and I can repeat those lap times, and I'm not just sailing it off into turns hoping for the best. I'm taking care of the car. I'm delivering it still with the fenders on it and pointed in the right direction, and owning those gains that I make, and truly, I hope that at the end of this race, saying that I contributed to a nice finish for the race team.
You mentioned before, Jimmie, that these DPI prototypes are quicker than the ones that you raced back in the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series days. Can you give the broader audience maybe an indication of the level of respect and the level of talent that the regular sports car drivers in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship have? Have you been impressed?
So impressed. And I mean, even before having the honor to share a track with them in Daytona, all I did was look at the entry list and went through and looked at all the names. I mean, it is so stacked. There's so much talent, so many successful racers from around the world in all disciplines that, it truly is an honor to be out there on the racetrack with all these guys.
Jimmie, last question. When you're in a prototype, stiff springs, low ride heights, and you're going through turn 17 here at Sebring under that bridge, and the thing is just huck a buck, to quote Jeff Emmett, just all. I mean, it's a different ride, it seems, every time, whether you're in a GT car or a prototype. Is there any part about growing up as an off-road racer that helps you just in riding through the bumps?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, just comfortable with the car moving around. I'm not used to bottoming that hard. I always had suspension that was soaking that stuff up. And as you know, you try to control as much of the wheel motion that you can, but the bottom of the car tags the ground a lot. And that's been a part of this journey all along, or here recently, I should say, with the IndyCar and the sports car. It's just how violent the bottom of the car is hitting the ground. So it took about half the day when I was here testing a few weeks ago to get used to that, knowing that was okay and that bad things were not going to happen after tagging the ground that hard.
Hey, Jimmie, there's been a lot made about some personnel changes on the pit crew side of things to maybe give you guys some speedier pit stops during the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring. Your old NASCAR Cup Series crew chief and friend Chad Knaus up on the box. Things feeling a little more normal, a little more homely?
Yeah, for sure. First off, Action Express has done an amazing job to field 2 cars, and we had a stellar team down in Daytona. Sadly, we had an issue with the fueling rig and our fuel in the car at some point. However, we're getting fuel in, and we were losing many seconds on pit lane, and we were able to get back to the shop and figure out why and what. And then as the team, as we were able to add on these 3 races, a lot of the crew members Chad selected to crew the car in Daytona, they had to go back to work. NASCAR season started, and they had a real job. So we did find some really talented guys that have a broad experience level in motorsport that can also change tires and fuel the car. And it will be with us for this race and then the final 2, so we can have that consistency and really put our best foot forward as a team. But it's great having him on the radio. He's going to be a little more involved in calling the race this go around. And we're just hoping for the best and going to have a good time.
All right, thanks so much for your time. Real quick before you go, who's going to win the Monster Energy Supercross Championship this year? Cooper Webb, Eli Tomac, or Ken Roxon?
Man, Webb is on fire. It's I've been pulling for Ken. I'm friends with them all, so it's hard to say you're pulling for one, but I just feel like Kenny and what he has gone through as an athlete over the years, I just feel like, I've got a little more emotion invested in Kenny, but I love seeing Coop doing what he's doing. And he's from around the same area where I live right now. So he has that going for him too.
Well, we wish those guys at their final one in Arlington, Texas this Saturday all the best. And you and Kamui Kobayashi and Simon Pagenaud in the number 48 Ally Cadillac for Action Express Racing all the best. Folks, you'll see it starting at 10 a.m. Eastern on NBCSN. We'll do some hours also on NBC Sports app on Track Pass, and then we'll finish up with the final 3 hours on NBCSN as well. Jimmie Johnson, Townsend Bell. Thanks, fellas.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Jimmie.
it. See ya.
Hey, Motorsports fans, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit subscribe before you go for all the latest news and highlights across motorsports.